Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Oh, man, that was incredibly painful to watch. If you guys have not seen the Kamala Harris CNN Tim Walz collaborative interview, you don't have to, because A, it's an incredibly long interview. It is so long. It is so long. We waited 40 plus days to get this very long interview. It was 18 minutes. 18 minutes. And she said nothing. She absolutely said nothing. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Kamala Harris didn't talk about anything on CNN. It was 18 minutes, and CNN is not releasing the full transcript. It was poorly edited. It was sad. It was sad. They had poor Joe Biden going out there, fumbling and mumbling his way across the board, and then they get Kamala Harris in there. It was crazy. You guys don't need to watch it because I'm dropping the highlights right now. So here was one right after the interview dropped.
I think all you have to do to know how this interview went for Kamala Harris is to go back and watch, I'm sorry to mention a rival network, go back and watch the CNN postgame show where the panelists, all the libs on the panel tried to convince themselves, they actually openly spoke about it. You know, I don't think she did any actual damage to herself, which is the surest fire way to tell that she actually did do damage for herself. And they said things like, well, maybe she didn't score a touchdown. And, oh, maybe we don't like the way she answered that question. It was a disaster. And when she talks about hiring Republicans or fracking or taxes or whatever it is, again, she demonstrated to Americans that you cannot believe what she said, because she's saying, I once believed X, I now believe Y, but trust me when I say nothing has changed. You cannot trust her, and she proved it tonight. It was a disaster. This interview will be with her for a long, long time.
And man, was it a disaster. Those of you that watched it, drop the comments down below. Let me know if it is a disaster. If this is your first time watching the highlights here, I'm not even gonna call them highlights because it was painful to watch. I don't know if you guys have ever had like gas or bloat and it just doesn't go away, and it's just like or like hemorrhoids. That's what watching this interview was like. Hemorrhoids. It was like hemorrhoids. And she didn't talk about why she's flip-flopping on her decisions. No valid points, a lot of dipping and dodging. And then for the majority of the time, Tim Walz sat there like he just had a spicy burrito. So this was the first question. Kamala Harris was asked the first question, and it was Kamala Harris's interview for the nominee. Oh, Kamala Harris's interview as nominee just dropped out, and it only took her 1 minute to mention Trump's name. Despite being in power for 3.5 years, she insisted that Americans are ready for a new way forward. Before we jump into that, I gotta hit the coconut song. How many of you guys know about the coconut song? If you don't, here it is.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and was created for you.
That was better than the interview. Hands down. Here's the first question.
The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
What? You have been the vice president for 3.5 years. I mixed the clips up because I didn't want to load you guys up with word salad, because I don't want you guys to go in a word salad coma. I heard it's going around, so I don't want you to get stuck in a word salad coma. CNN panelists said that she didn't score a touchdown. And when CNN says that, when CNN says, she didn't do great, she didn't do good, but
Now, you might not like the way she answered him, but she answered him as a capable, qualified leader. And I do think she moved the ball forward a little bit. Maybe she didn't score a touchdown. Now, you might not like.
I'm going to replay that.
I think she moved the ball forward a little bit. Maybe she didn't score a touchdown. Now, you might not.
She hardly moved the ball. She didn't answer any questions. She didn't say anything substantial. Here's CNN again.
I agree with Asted about this idea of the question of who's going to change will be the fundamental defining question of the election. And I was sort of watching this, holistically. What is she saying? What does she look like? What's on the screen? So at the beginning, when she's talking about Biden and their record, our screen said, this is called the Chiron, the headline at the bottom. It said, Harris stands by Biden administration economic record. She is making it clear that she will embrace and be a continuation of Biden's economic policy, his record, what they've done. She offered no remorse, no regrets, no introspection about anything they've done. She continued to blame inflation on this fantasy price gouging idea. She had no additional thoughts on the economic situation in the country or what they've done beyond just saying, Joe Biden and I have done a great job. Now, if I were the Trump people, I would be salivating over the idea that that's how they are going to run the race. I don't believe it's tenable. I agree with Asted.
You bet your booty hole that the Trump campaign is going to drop an ad, probably by the time the video is out here, that she just cooked her own Trump advocation ad. She really did. Kamala Harris has no regrets for hiding Joe Biden's condition for 3.5 years.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all.
What? I don't know if there's any Dems in the chat, but what? If somebody says that, she advocated that Joe Biden was good and cognitive and he was all ready to go and to serve, but she knew something was up. And she has no regrets that everybody was hiding this?
The debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
Bro, I can't stomach this. It's incredibly heart-wrenching that this is the Democratic coup nominee for the presidential campaign. She's squished between Tampon Teasy and Dana Bash. And by the way, how many of you guys think that she looks toe up? She looks a little, man, she looks jacked. Here's some more CNN coverage here. CNN, a favorable news network.
It wasn't a huge, I don't think she moved the ball that much forward. It wasn't a huge, I don't think she moved the ball that much forward.
She didn't move it. She didn't move it. Dana Bash, you've been vice president for 3.5 years. The steps you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already? Shout out, because she did ask some really good questions. She did ask some like enforcer type questions. But if this was JD Vance or Donald Trump sitting in front of her, she would have asked a series of follow-up questions, which she did not. It was a very softballish interview. She asked a hard question, let her kind of meander, and no follow-up or interruption. Of course they wouldn't do that, right? Of course they wouldn't do that.
President for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that anymore.
You maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work.
Did she calculate also the new job numbers that came out? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I don't think she had that in her calculation. I seriously don't. I seriously don't. This is some Fox coverage about this. They highlight some of the interview. And here we go.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019, when you first ran, there was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws. And
Why is she referencing stuff that she did so long ago?
I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
This woman is lying. The fact that she says our laws are meant to be followed and enforced, what, you decided that all the laws about the border shouldn't be followed and there should be consequences, transnational criminal organizations. What the hell have you done for the past 3.5 years? Go ahead, Joe.
Precisely, Janine. And this was so horribly produced, by the way, by CNN. The Tim Russert, when I used to watch Meet the Press, because I was a dork in college and apparently thought it was cool to watch Meet the Press on Sunday mornings instead of Sports Center, for example. I did both, actually.
I wasn't so hip
Tim
either.
Russert used to...
Go ahead.
But Russert used to play back clips, right, for a politician that he was interviewing. He would play the literal words of that person and then have that person react to it. Why CNN, particularly since this had post-edit, in other words, it was a packaged type of presentation. It was pre-taped. Why didn't they play her words for her and then have her react to it? That would have been so much more effective. And then she talked about also that she's maintaining her values. Okay, I guess that means she does want to abolish ICE because she said that on tape too. That means she does believe that illegal border crossings should be legal. That means she wants to provide health insurance to all those who enter this country illegally for free, mind you. That means she wants to end the private health industry. That means she thinks that sanctuary cities work. That means she thinks that men can actually get pregnant. And that means she thinks that gun buyback programs work and raising taxes on small business won't result in, higher prices for consumers or anything. I mean, we could go on here, Janine, but we got finite time here. The bottom line is that we will not see Kamala Harris do another interview before that debate with Donald Trump on September 10th. And when that debate happens, if tonight is any indication, if Donald Trump is disciplined and ready, like he was on June 27th against Biden, it will be the beginning of the end of the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, Candyland candidacy, because this got really exposed tonight.
It really did. This was almost equally as bad as the exposure with the Joe Biden debate. And this is how I think the Democratic Party is reacting. Here's some Scott Jennings, man. Scott Jennings has been on fire.
Issues coming out of Biden for her are the economic policies, which she clearly wants to embrace, but also the immigration policies. Dana asked her if she had anything to say about what they did for 3.5 years leading up until the back and forth this year. Completely sidestepped it, did not answer it. She goes back to her time as Attorney General. But again, absolutely nothing, no responsibility, no reflection at all on the day one executive actions or anything else they did for 3.5 years or anything she said in her previous campaign, which was to have the most permissive immigration structure. She's trying to skip a block of time at the debate. Trump cannot allow it.
And here's the thing, guys. This is on. I'm sharing a lot of these CNN clips because this is a favorable news network to Kamala Harris.
The fact check bottom line, Abby, is that she did not actually make clear at a 2020 debate that she had changed her previous support for a fracking ban. So let me take you through this kind of saga. So here's what she said at a CNN climate town hall in 2019 on the subject of a fracking ban.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
That was quite clear. So she ended her 2020 presidential run in December 2019. The only debate she participated in 2020 was the general election debate with then Vice President Mike Pence. And I went over the transcript of that debate tonight. Nowhere in there does she make clear that she had abandoned her previous support for a fracking ban. Rather, she repeated that Joe Biden, the head of the Democratic ticket at the time, would himself not ban fracking. So listen to what she actually said in that 2020 debate.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that. I will repeat, and the American people know, that Joe Biden will not ban fracking.
So it makes perfect sense that at the time she was speaking on behalf of Biden, the president, not the vice president, sets administration policy. But maybe other people feel differently. I certainly did not hear anywhere in there Kamala Harris saying that she personally had abandoned her previously expressed 2019 view. Rather, again, she was speaking for Joe Biden.
And this was throughout the interview. Throughout the interview. Dana Bash asked about the border. About the border.
Addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
The northern part of Central America that deals with, that affects the southern border.
She's not a leader. She's not a leader, guys.
Of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to ask
about— Not only push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
A lot of people are saying that she was looking at notes, but she does look down quite a bit.
Of the United States.
She does look down quite a bit. I don't know if she's reviewing notes or, you know, there's word and speculation across the intro web that she might have had an earpiece or something like that. Or they might have chopped out some of the pops, the crackles and the cackles and stuff like that. There was a few cackles in the interview. This is Fox speaking about the interview itself.
Well, I think clearly the biggest mistake she made, and she made it repeatedly, is when she kept saying that her values haven't changed. And I think that, I'm not sure she is aware of this or not, but that makes her actually more untrustworthy, because what she's basically saying is, oh yeah, sure, for a long time I believed X. Now I say Y. But nothing has changed. And I think her answer on fracking is a perfect illustration for that. It's going to give her big problems in Pennsylvania, because she says, yeah, sure, I support a ban on fracking. Actually, today, no, I don't support a ban on fracking. And you know what? Nothing has changed. People in Pennsylvania are going to look at that and say, what are you talking about? She might as well be staring into the camera and saying, you can't trust what I say. You know, it took 39 days for us to get to this point. It'll be probably 39 more before she does it again. That's how bad it was.
This is going across the intrawebs. It was bad. It was bad. And here is Jesse Waters talking about it. Shout out to Jesse Waters. It was a mess. It was a mess, guys. How many of you guys believe what she says? I just want to know in the comments. You know, and is she a reputable candidate for president? Period. This image right here says it all. This image says it all right here. She's sandwiched between, let me make sure that you guys got the view. She's sandwiched between Tim Walz, who's a lot taller. She's hunched over. And Dana Bash in her purple suit.
Interview only lasted 18 minutes. We'll see. But the shot was a mess. She looked small and hunched over on a table from Office Max, squished in between Dana Bash and her chaperone, who towers over her inside a backlit cafe with her bus looming out the window. Not presidential. And with a month to prepare, this is the best Kamala could do.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed.
CNN asked Kamala, why didn't you flip-flop on everything? And she said, no, I didn't. CNN even gave her options. Maybe it was because of this. Maybe it was because of that. Hint, hint. No. Kamala denied changing her position on everything, even though her campaign spent the last month saying she changed her position on everything. She just said, I'm the same California socialist who ran for president as the most liberal member of the Senate. Her values haven't changed. First, she said she prosecuted human beings crossing the border. Then when she was running for president, she said it's not illegal to cross the border. Then when she was the border czar, she didn't prosecute anybody crossing the border. And now that she's running for president, she wants to build a wall. And her values haven't changed. Okay. Look, this is what she said on the Green New Deal. She sponsored a bill so you won't be able to buy a gas-powered car in 20 years. And then her campaign says she doesn't believe that anymore, even though that's what she did in the Biden administration. Then she makes a huge mistake and admits the Inflation Reduction Act was really just the Green New Deal and says this: it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. Deadlines around time.
That's how all deadlines are created. Deadlines are created around time. We already know that, right? Come on, right? I'm going to fast forward a little bit.
Backfired, and now confused and frustrated, fresh off your convention with Oprah and Michelle, and the numbers say you're going to lose. If Trump got a month of the coverage Kamala got, he'd win New York, California, and Hawaii. The fundamentals of this race haven't changed. Their ticket just got a facelift. Americans, now more than ever, believe the American dream is out of reach. And Harris, who presided over the disappearance of hope and dreams, is running against herself, trying to fool you into thinking she had nothing to do with the last 4 years. The Kamala campaign's an illusion of change that only bamboozles people focused on race and gender.
Quick question while you came.
Oh man, Ben Stiller, man, you guys saw the Ben Stiller. He was like, oh, every Jew wishes that they were black. I wish I was black. And then they ask him this question here. I was a fan of Ben Stiller, but now I'm like, what is going on with this guy? But we know how Hollywood works, and presumably we know how Hollywood works. And we presumably know how they're backed, presumably.
What you like about Harris' platform? And
just very excited about moving forward and all the energy and excitement that's around this movement right now. So that's why I'm here, because it's time for change, and it seems like it's happening.
What's the difference between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris besides race and gender? That's the only change that happened here. Sticking with the woman who crushed the American dream isn't change.
We will bring back the American dream, bigger, better, stronger, and just better, bigger, better. We love the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream. When was the last time you heard about the American dream? They don't talk about it, although they copy everything else I do, so I guess that'll be next. They'll be copying. They'll be saying, oh, the American dream. She doesn't know what the American dream is.
A house, a family, a safe neighborhood, and a good salary that leaves you comfortable in retirement is out of reach for millions of Americans after 4 years of Biden-Harris.
Yep. Grocery bills are crazy. Now, we didn't get a lot of answers from, Tim Walz didn't have the opportunity. He might have, but on the 18-minute segment, he was only asked a few questions, and more so he was sitting there like a support animal or support dog for Kamala Harris, again, looking like he ate some bad burritos of some sort or something. So we're going to introduce Timmy Tampon Teasy.
Welcome the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz.
Here we go.
That you carried weapons in war, but you have.
Oh, this is a good one. And he dips and dodges this like a coward.
You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And nobody knows who you are, bro. Nobody knows who you are. We know your previous record. You let your city burn. You let your city burn, and you want to place tampons in the boys' bathroom. And you dodge a question. You're hiding your drunk driving situation. It's bananas. We know who you are, and we don't, right?
People know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is.
You
And
don't know what
again,
your policies are.
my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war. Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English you told my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
Dipping and dodging.
And my wife, the English you told
my wife, the
my
English
grammar is not always correct. But again,
Come on, man.
if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
Ugh. Ugh. Garbage. 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 This was a train wreck. This was a train wreck. How many of you guys watched the entire interview? Kudos to you, because again, longest interview, 40 days. We wait 40 days for 18 minutes. Very unclimactic. Very unclimactic. This was horrible. It was a horrible train wreck. When she goes to the debate with Donald Trump, and she's still fighting to get the mics not muted, so she can throw in her little inserts so they can get hot clips of her. But if she shows up, she can't show up like this, because this was scripted. And you know, the other thing is, guys, before I jump out of here, the other thing is the indication on this right here, where it says that it's live. This is why people don't trust mainstream media. It was not live. It was pre-taped and filled with commercials, Kamala Harris commercials. It was garbage. Garbage. Anyways, guys, I am out of here. Drop your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the interview and your feedback of what is going on the intrawebs, because they are reaming her. They are reaming her and Tim Walz to show up the way that they did for this interview. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button, share, subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one.